All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this financial literacy webinar. My name is Roxanne, and I'm with Neighborhood Credit Union. I am a community relations officer here at the credit union. Today, we are joined by Lauren from Green Path Financial Wellness, and she is going to talk to us about reaching your financial goals for 2024. So some very good information coming our way. I am sure of it. Just real quick, a little bit about Neighborhood Credit Union. We are getting ready to celebrate 94 years. We were originally Dallas Postal Credit Union, and we changed our name about 2000, 2001. But we have been around for a real long time, and we are not going anywhere. We are growing. We're actually building a new branch right now in Sherman. And so that will be our 15th branch. Very excited about that. But anyway, we've been around for a long time, and we are excited to continue to serve Texas and the Metroplex with some fantastic products and services. So I am going to go ahead and turn it over to you, Lauren, and let you take it away.
Thank you so much, Roxanne. And that's so exciting. 94 years. I didn't even
Right?
realize.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're all
we're
coming up
old.
on some big anniversaries. So very exciting. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today to talk about your financial goals in 2024. As Roxanne mentioned, I am Lauren Simon. I am with GreenPath Financial Wellness, and we partner with Neighborhood Credit Union to provide financial education and tools to help empower people to lead financially healthy lives. We are a nationwide organization, and we offer a lot of different products and services to help people with reaching their financial goals. So, primarily, what we offer are free confidential financial assessments, and this is available to members of the credit union as well as the community at large. We can help you with budget and credit report reviews to make sure you're on track. We can also talk to people that are at any stage of their homeownership or rental journey, whether that's getting started or if you are in a home and needing some help. And if you're looking to purchase a home, we can provide you with some tips and tools to make that a good experience. We also provide debt counseling services. We know a lot of people nowadays are really dealing with some mounting credit card debt. We're at nationwide high levels, so we can talk about options for managing those on your own, or maybe talking to the credit union about a consolidation loan, or we can help out with a debt management plan that can help to reduce your interest rates and payments. And of course, I know a topic that is really on everyone's minds as well are those student loans that have come due again. So we can help you sort through all of the different payment plan options and figure out what is best for you. So I will have contact information at the end of our presentation today. So if you need to reach out for some support, we are here for you.
Wonderful.
Thanks. So we're going to go ahead and dive in. On our agenda today is talking about how to understand your financial behaviors and the role that it plays when that comes to reaching your financial goals. We'll also talk about setting yourself up for success, as well as how to get back on track towards your goals after a setback. Roxanne and I were talking, we're at that point of the year where some of these resolutions may have already fallen off a little bit. So
Mhm.
that was a question that I had for the group is, if there were any resolutions made this year. And I think it's safe to say we always all think at the beginning of the year, like, hey, I've got a fresh start. I'm going
Mhm.
to get started. The holidays are over. I'm going to get myself on track. And what we find towards mid January, end of January, now we're kind of mid February, is that it's not always going to the original plan, right? So when we think about this situation, it's so common that it's easy to joke about. Just know that if you are one of these people that maybe is struggling with your New Year's resolution, you are really not alone. According to the US News and World Report, 80% of New Year's resolutions are out the window by mid-February every year. So if you're in that 20% hanging on, good for you. But most of us are over here just trying to figure out what's happening in our lives, and that's okay too. So many of us just start off the year with those good intentions. We think it's going to be our year. And then life happens, and maybe it's not our year after all, yet again. And I think we've all been feeling this so much since the pandemic. So you're in good company, no worries. So, the reason though that we're here today really is to kind of think about how we can set financial goals that we can actually reach, even when we have some of those life happens moments. So, we're coming from the New Year's resolution angle today because we're at the beginning of the year, and this is a mind frame that a lot of people are in. But one thing to know is that the information that we talk about today really can apply to setting financial goals at any point of the year. So even if you're not a New Year's resolution person. Now, I am working under the assumption that you may already have some financial goals in mind, but if you don't, that is okay. We're going to be talking through a lot of questions to kind of ask yourself about the goals that you have set or the goals that maybe you're in the process of setting or in the future you'd like to set so that you can have some tips to ensure that you're setting yourself up for success with the goals that you have and you can create a plan to reach them. So, one of the first steps in this goal setting process is to become aware of the underlying factors that impact your ability to reach those goals. So, again, this is a no judgment zone. I'm not here to judge anyone's financial habits or behavior, but it is important to become aware of them and how they can impact your ability to reach your goals so that you can harness some of those habits to help you achieve your goals. I will be the first to tell you that a lot of the things that we're getting ready to discuss sounded very, very familiar to me when I first learned about them because they're underlying factors in some of my financial decisions. So, again, no judgment at all. This is just about awareness and understanding in an effort to use this knowledge to get us to where we want to be. So, here at GreenPath, one of our guiding principles is behavioral economics. And behavioral economics is the study of psychology as it relates to the economic decision making processes of individuals. So, to paraphrase this definition, we want to figure out how this is going to relate to the individual at their own personal level. So, another way of saying behavioral economics is a way to understand why people make the financial decisions that they make. So, understanding this why can help us to make shifts in our behavior or harness those underlying behaviors so we can get to where we want to be financially. At GreenPath, behavioral economics is one of our guiding principles because we believe so strongly in the impact of understanding this underlying why and how that can impact our financial well being. So, I'm going to spend the next few minutes walking through a few examples of some behavioral economics concepts and how they can help or hinder us when it comes to reaching our goals. Again, no judgment, just awareness as we talk through these goals. So, as we walk through these concepts, consider whether or not any of the behaviors sound like tendencies that you may have. And now it is important to know that this is not necessarily a full or complete list of all the behavioral economics concepts, but I did want to highlight some that really do come into play, specifically when we're talking about reaching individual financial goals. So the first is framing. And this is the idea that how something is presented or framed to someone may impact the outcome. One example that relates directly to what we're talking about today is how you think about a budget. So when I say the word budget, think about what feelings come up for you immediately. How do you initially feel about it? A budget can be framed as something that is restrictive or maybe keeping you from doing something, which can lead to resentment and make it harder to stay on track with. Or a budget could be framed as a plan to get you to where you want to be financially. So when you frame a budget as something that is helping you to reach your financial goals instead of resenting what it may be keeping you from doing, this can lead to longer term success. So, framing matters, and depending on how you frame something, it can either help or hurt you when it comes to actually reaching your goals. Our next concept is loss aversion, which is the idea that real or potential loss is felt more strongly than an equivalent gain. So, some of us are more sensitive to this than others, but at the end of the day, nobody really likes to feel like they're losing something. So, this is something we can all be conscious of when we're making financial decisions. So, an example of loss aversion could be making the decision to reduce certain expenses to free up more cash flow to put towards your goals. If cutting back on something or cutting an expense out completely feels like a loss, this can make it more challenging for you to follow through and hurt your ability to reach your goals without a plan to counter that feeling of loss. So, we will talk a little bit later about what you can do to counter some of those feelings of loss. Our next concept is mental accounting. And this is when we place a different value on the same amount of money based on subjective criteria. So essentially, mental accounting is the concept of thinking about money differently based on where it came from. So we tend to think of the money we earn as part of our salary in one way, while we think about bonuses or tax refunds or gifts a little bit differently. So, this can lead to making different financial decisions than you would normally make when you receive money that falls into one of these subjective categories. We're more likely to perhaps maybe treat ourselves when we get a tax refund, even though that's not technically extra money. It's the money that we earned in the first place that is getting returned to us. So, while mental accounting can derail your progress towards financial goals, if you find yourself mentally accounting your money too much, it can also be used to your advantage when it comes to reaching goals. Mentally accounting for windfalls or money you receive that is out of the ordinary to go towards reaching your goals can help. So, this is a way to harness that mental accounting principle to help you achieve your financial goals and perhaps even a little bit quicker than you initially expected. Now, the present bias concept is the tendency to focus more on the present situation than the future when you're making decisions, which can lead us to prioritizing immediate rewards over future payoffs. Again, no judgment. We've all been here. Maybe it's late and you've had a long day at work and you're driving past your favorite drive through restaurant on the way home. And even though you know you have perfectly good food at home, your present situation, being tired and hungry, can lead you to pull into that drive through, even though you know you had a dinner planned, and you'll be dipping into a different budget category to cover this cost. So in this situation, your present situation drove your decision based on immediate gratification. So if this is something that sounds especially familiar to you, know again that it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it is something to be aware of and to consider as you plan for what pre-commitments and accountability measures you can put in place to help you limit your impulses. So we'll talk a little bit more on some strategies for that later. Our final concept that we're going to talk about right now is called the overconfidence bias. And that is when we overestimate our abilities and knowledge. So, one example of this is maybe setting a financial goal that is in no way, shape, or form realistic and assuming overconfidently that you'll somehow just figure it out along the way. Overconfidence in goal setting can be detrimental to actually reaching your goals. And this is an example of a time that getting an outside perspective on your goals can help you to identify any blind spots that may be created by you being overly confident. So think about those concepts and see if any of them sounded familiar to you. When I started learning about behavioral economics, I immediately recognized some of the tendencies I have, as well as tendencies that my family members have. So we just lightly touched on those five concepts today, and there are many, many more. If you are curious to learn more about behavioral economics, we have some great resources available that I'll mention at the end of our presentation today. Because being able to understand and acknowledge the tendencies and financial behaviors we have can really be helpful in developing a path to your goal, especially making sure it's a goal that you can actually succeed with. So, once we have gained an understanding of our financial behaviors and what may be driving our decisions and actions under the surface, it's time for us to move into using this awareness to set ourselves up for success. So, let's take a closer look at some of the steps that you can take. Now, I will say again up front, I'm not going to give you a long list of specific to dos here. And there's a reason for that. We all are coming from different financial situations with different goals, and we all have different priorities. And we definitely should, right? We all are leading different lives here as individuals. So, this means that we'll all have some different things that are going to help us be successful as well. So my goal is to provide you with some guidance on how to determine your unique steps to success based on your unique situations, goals, and priorities. Some of these suggestions will hopefully resonate with you, but they might not all make sense for you, and that's perfectly okay. So as you set goals, it really is imperative that your goals are clear. Start by getting specific. What is your goal? How much do you need to save or to reduce your spending? If the goal has a hard deadline, when you will need that money, it's important to note that down. If the timing is flexible, think about if this is a short-term or long-term goal. By when would you like to have accomplished your goal? Next, make sure that your goal is measurable so that you can monitor your progress. A goal that cannot be measured cannot really be reached. So think about how you will measure your progress. Do it in a way that makes sense for you. Determine whether you'll save towards your goal each pay period or maybe each month. And set a goal to reduce your spending in gradual increments, maybe 5% each pay period or month, instead of trying to make a huge pay change like a 30% reduction of spending in a category overnight. Be sure to check in on your progress towards your goal regularly. Determine a cadence that makes sense to you. I personally recommend doing a light check in every month and then a deeper dive on where you're at on a quarterly basis to determine if you need to make any adjustments to your strategy. Track your progress on a computer or in the app, write it down, or simply log into your online banking and review your savings account balances, whatever works best for you. Having a goal that you can measure progress on is key to being able to achieve it. So, what do I mean by this? Let's take a look at two goals. First, a goal that we hear a lot at GreenPath is I want to save more money, which is great. Most of us want to do this. And while it's a sentiment that many of us consider as a financial goal, it's really not a clear goal. There's nothing specific or measurable. So, what does it look like to even reach that goal? How do you know if you've been successful? If you save $1 more than you currently have, you technically save more money. So, did you really reach your goal? Unclear goals can lead us to frustration because we don't have those goalposts to determine if we're making the progress we really want to be making, and we won't really have a way to know if we've reached that goal. So let's take a look at another example. So in this example, we are specifically saying, I want to save $1,000 by December 24th for fill in the blank. For some people, it might be the holidays, a vacation, maybe an emergency fund, a home maintenance project, maybe a lump sum for debt payoff. See the difference here? I wanted to save a specific amount for a specific purpose by a specific date. This goal can be measured. I know how long is between now and December, and I know how much I need to save, so I can measure my progress. I can set up milestones to ensure I'm on track to reach my goal in time, and I can check in every month to ensure I'm on track to save my $1,000 in time to reach that goal. And if needed, I can make adjustments if I do get off track. So, setting a goal is one thing, but creating a plan on how you'll reach it is an important step in being successful. So, let's go back to that example goal, saving $1,000 by December. So, think about what your plan is to do this. What do I need to do in order to accomplish this goal? Maybe I'll open a separate savings account at my credit union so I can reach that goal. And since I get paid weekly, let's say I know that I have maybe 20 paydays between now and December. So, knowing this, I will take action by dividing my goal amount by the number of paydays and set up automatic transfers for that amount every time I get paid to my savings account. And my numbers have changed a little bit, but it comes out to just over, I think, $50 if I divided that correctly. So maybe you round that up and you set it for, I don't know, $50 even each time you get paid. So, similar to the goals you set, your action plan to reach the goal also needs to be specific and realistic to be achievable. Again, if you say you want to save $10,000 by December, is it really going to be realistic for you to save an additional $1,000 a month? Maybe, but if that's not the case for you, that's not going to be a helpful goal to set up. So speaking of having a clear picture of what is realistic, right? A few minutes ago, we talked about the difference framing can make when it comes to reaching your goals. And I mentioned budgets. So, a budget is your way to help you know what is realistic. There's not a single financial goal that I can think of that does not come down to knowing how much money you have to work with to determine if, how, and when you can reach that goal. So, if you only hear one thing that I say today in our presentation, I hope it's this. Regardless of how much income you have, regardless of how many expenses you have, a budget is quite simply a plan for how much money you have to work with and where you want those dollars to go. So, the word budget has really become synonymous in many corners of our culture with going bare bones, right? Cutting out everything that brings joy and would be considered a non necessity and striving to spend as little money as possible. So, that does not have to be true. Once again, your budget is your plan for where you want and need your dollars to go. You get to decide where your priorities are and make adjustments to be able to ensure your dollars are going to the things that you want them to go to. It is absolutely okay for your budget to include things like going out to eat or grabbing a daily latte if you determine that those are a priority that you would like to be able to spend on. The key thing is to plan for that spending so that you know how much money you have left to put towards your other goals. Your financial priorities are going to be different than mine, and that is okay. We're all in different financial situations, have different goals that we're working towards, and we have different expenses that we prioritize for different reasons. So, our budgets can and will and should look different based on these different situations. Trying to copy someone else's idea of a budget is quite simply not going to work. So it's really important that you talk with your financial partner, if you have one, to determine together what your financial priorities are and to develop a plan that is going to work for your whole situation with that in mind. So I've got a quote here, and it says, I have a budget. I know what I spend monthly and what it costs to run my household and what it costs to run this home. It's hard all the time to stick within a budget for sure, but I think it's a good guide. It's a good guideline. And I'm the type of personality where I'm like, okay, I really want to buy this, so I have to make room for this in order to buy that for myself. So I'll make it happen. So this is a kind of a question that we have put out to some other groups in the past. Who do we think said this quote? And I don't want to put Roxanne on the spot, but it's someone that is very famous. Any idea of who maybe put this quote out into the universe?
I don't know, Lauren.
All right. Well, I've got a surprise for you because this is someone that you may not necessarily associate with the idea of budgeting.
Mm.
So this quote was from none other than Kim Kardashian. So if you think about Kim Kardashian, of course, she has more money than most of us will ever have in our lives, probably combined if we combined
Mm-hmm.
everybody in this session.
Mm-hmm.
But part of the reason she has that money is because she sees the importance of having a plan for all of those dollars to keep moving in the direction that she wants to be moving. So, if creating a budget feels like a difficult mental block for you to get past, maybe it's challenging to see a budget as anything other than restrictive or going bare bones. I hope that you're inspired by the fact that even Kim Kardashian has a budget. So, it does not have to be a way to remove everything that you enjoy from your life. It's a way for you to make a plan to get to where you want to be, regardless of how much money you have to work with. So your budget will tell you how much money you have left to put towards your goals after you've identified how much you have coming in and what all it needs to go back out towards. This is how you can know what is realistic. If you already have a budget, it's important to revisit it to find out what is realistic for you right now. Take a look at what categories you might be able to reasonably adjust to free up money to prioritize working towards your goals if your goal is not realistic within your current budget. If you don't have a budget yet, now is a great time to create one. So I've got some resources up on the screen. You can scan with your phone those QR codes. We've got the Aligning Priorities workbook that can help you determine what your priority expenses are, whether you're adjusting your budget or starting from scratch. And we've got a budgeting worksheet to help you figure out how to make everything work together. Another factor that can impact your ability to reach your goals is where you are on your path to financial wellness. So at GreenPath, we have identified these different steps people might find themselves in on the path to financial wellness, starting from diffusing a crisis when you maybe are merely trying to make it day by day, to improving your cash flow where you're making it, but you're still kind of scraping get by, maybe living paycheck to paycheck, and you would like to be able to move beyond that. Increasing resiliency is where you're starting to free yourself up a bit more financially and to think a little bit more about the bigger picture. Growing assets comes from when you're able to comfortably able to support your day-to-day life and you're able to shift your focus towards those bigger long-term goals. And finally, achieving your dreams financially. So if you're trying to diffuse a crisis and set a goal of growing assets, chances are that that is not going to go super well for you until you've been able to resolve that crisis situation, improve your cash flow, and increase your resiliency. It's really hard to save for retirement when you're getting collection calls or you're worried about losing the roof over your head. So, determining where you're at on the path to financial wellness can help you set the right goals that are actually achievable now. So, as you can see on the screen here, there are very valid financial goals that someone might have to take at every step of the path listed. So, taking the time to figure out which goals you may need to accomplish first can be key to setting you up to reach your goals. You might need to first diffuse a crisis situation or come up with a plan to improve cash flow before you attempt to grow your assets. According to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, financial well being refers to someone being able to fully meet their current and ongoing financial obligations, feeling secure in their financial future, and being able to make choices that allow them to enjoy life. This includes having control over day to day and month to month finances, having the capacity to absorb a financial shock, because we all know it's not a matter of if, but when those financial shocks come along, and being on track to meet your financial goals, as well as having the financial freedom to make the choices that allow you to enjoy your life. So, while this looks different for each and every one of us, it's a great framework to use when determining what financial wellness looks like for you personally. So, think about what it would look like for you to have control over your finances. What would make you feel prepared to absorb a financial shock? What are choices you would like to feel financially free to make? All of these are great questions to ask to not only determine where you are at on the path to financial wellness, but to also help shape the goals that you set. Now, some financial goals have a clear why. Saving up enough money for a down payment so you can purchase an investment property, for example. Other goals maybe don't have as clear of a why. So, going back to our goal of saving $1,000, maybe you're just saving that for emergencies versus for a specific purpose like a vacation or home maintenance project. Dig deeper to understand what your financial goals are, to help you accomplish those goals and figure out why it's important to you. So, while some goals may have tangible whys, like taking a vacation or purchasing a home, other goals may be there to help you work towards a sense of financial stability. Maybe having that $1,000 in a savings account isn't for a specific expense, but it helps you feel ready to absorb a financial shock. And that's one of the pillars of financial wellness, according to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Maybe you having an aggressive goal of paying off your mortgage early so you have more freedom to make life decisions like retiring early or taking time to travel extensively without concerns about a mortgage payment. So, not only is retire early or travel the world a tangible why, but many goals have intangible whys as well, like having freedom in this example. So, then keep that why in front of you. Remember what you are working towards. The path may not always be easy and smooth, and there will be temptations to get off track and spend your money in other ways. Keeping that why in front of you can help you to stay motivated and keep working towards your financial goal. Consider what would help you do this. If you're a visual person, maybe print out a photo of your dream house and keep it in your wallet, or make it your computer background so that when you're tempted to spend or shop online, you'll be reminded of your goal to buy a home and maybe more likely to make spending decisions through the filter of working towards that goal by keeping it right in front of you. Or maybe have a photo or a memento that reminds you of a financial emergency that you were not prepared for so that you can use that to inspire you to not end up in that position again. Consider writing down your goal and your why. I want to achieve X goal so that X, Y. And keep that piece of paper with your budget or hang it in your home office or on the refrigerator or somewhere else that you'll see it often. Talk about your goal and your why regularly, especially if you have kids in the home who may be struggling to understand financial changes that you're making in your budget. Also, consider what questions might be helpful to ask yourself to keep your why in front of you. Or ask a financial partner or accountability buddy to ask you, would you rather get pizza tonight or get pizza in Italy on vacation? This is one that my team member Amber uses a lot. She loves to travel. So a lot of times her and her husband cook at home, and their reasoning is always that we would rather eat at home tonight here in Philadelphia versus not being able to take our vacation. I think they just went to Portugal, right? And enjoy that food. And I know that sometimes in the moment that might be a little bit annoying, right? Because of course, our present bias always says, like, hey, I want this now. But remembering that and expressing us helps keep us on track towards our goals. Getting someone else's eyes on your situation can also help you bring perspective and potentially introduce you to options that you didn't know about or you hadn't considered. An outside party can also help you to identify what blind spots you may be missing. So, talk to someone you trust who is not actively involved in your finances. So, not necessarily your financial partner, to help you review your situation and goals and provide guidance as a neutral third party. This could include a trusted family member or friend. It could be the credit union, or it could be a financial counselor. The credit union is a phenomenal resource for trusted financial resources. There is a lot of information that is out there on the internet and social media that may or may not be true, and may or may not be true for different people depending on their specific situation and goals. Your financial institution, though, is a wealth of trusted information that you can read, watch, listen to, and absorb, and they can help tailor that advice for your specific situation. And also think about how to motivate yourself. How can you incentivize yourself to keep going? Are there small milestones that you can plan for to help you keep moving forward? How might you incentivize yourself to keep going? Budget for small celebrations as you reach your milestones if that would help you to stay motivated. So, in the example we're using, vacation is a pretty good motivator. But what about some of those less tangible examples? Going back to the example of saving $1,000 for emergencies in order to have a sense of financial stability. While this is a great goal, it is maybe a little bit less exciting than taking a vacation. So, this might be an example of a goal that having a plan to keep you motivated could help make it more possible for you to achieve this goal. So, maybe it's a predetermined treat yourself plan. Once you've saved $500, we're going to go out for a nice dinner at our favorite restaurant to celebrate hitting this milestone. Maybe once we get to $1,000, we're going to use the money we've been automatically transferring to go to savings to reach this goal to get out of town for overnight. So these are just some examples. You know what will motivate you best to keep you going. So work this into your plan and your budget. Now, on a side note here, we talked a little bit earlier about loss aversion, and having a tangible motivation plan like this is a great way to harness that. So, for example, if you know that shifting money out of your dining out budget category in order to put it towards a bigger picture goal is going to feel like a loss to you, use that awareness to build your motivation plan around dining out to celebrate reaching your milestones on the path to your goal. So, just a way to shift your focus and make a good use of those behavioral economics principles. And one of the number one suggestions we have for anyone who wants to get serious about reaching a financial goal is to automate as much as you can. Most of my financial goals are savings based, and I know that especially for some of those that have less tangible savings goals than I have, It can be really, really easy to talk ourselves out of logging into online banking and making a savings transfer or making a transfer for the full amount you intended to. However, if those funds are automatically transferred to savings on payday when your direct deposit hits, you might find that you barely notice that that money is gone because you had already planned for those funds to go to savings in the budget anyways. So, taking the onus off of ourselves to go in and initiate the transfer each payday or each month helps hold us accountable to consistently keep working towards our goals. And of course, you can go in and stop the transfer if you really, really need to, but that is a layer of friction that makes it less likely that you'll do that unless it's absolutely necessary. So, talk to your financial institution about what automation options are available. Automating transfers to savings accounts and setting up automatic bill pay for debt balances you maybe want to pay a certain extra amount a month to are great ways to hold yourself accountable and keep moving towards your goals. Another concept within the behavioral science is the idea of pre commitment. Pre commitment is a strategy you can use to hold yourself accountable to reaching your goals by making a decision now so you don't have to make it later. So, if you know that you might be tempted to spend more than you budgeted, this could look like leaving your debit or credit cards at home and only taking the amount of cash that you budgeted to spend. Maybe it looks like telling your desk mate at work that you have committed to only grabbing coffee on the way to work on Fridays. So you know that if you roll into the office with a coffee on a Tuesday, they're going to know that you're not following through on your goal and maybe give you a little bit of ribbing with that. It could also look like putting funds into an account type that has a penalty for early withdrawal. This could also be meal prepping for the week each weekend, so you have a grab and go option already prepped instead of hitting up the drive through. Automating savings or extra payments, just like we talked about, is a prime example of this idea as well. The idea behind pre committing is not to prevent you from being able to change your mind if something happens. You can still make a different choice or decision at any time, but it is a strategy that can force you to pause and really think through what you're doing before you make that different choice. So, as you're setting your goals and creating your plan for how to reach them, take time to intentionally think through what pre commitments you might be able to make to stay on track. Finally, consider who else might be able to help hold you accountable. If you have a financial partner, this often happens pretty organically as your financial decisions impact one another. If you don't share your finances with someone, do you have someone that you can trust that you can share your goal and your why with and give them permission to ask you hard questions and check in on your progress on a regular cadence? If they agree, use that concept of pre commitment and schedule time to check in about how things are going on a cadence that you determine. Put it on your calendar and commit to follow through. So, this can all sound great and be going as planned until suddenly something happens, right? Maybe it's an emergency car repair or an unexpected medical bill, or two major appliances break in your house in the same week. Maybe you have a loss of income or other factors that come up. We all know that it is not a matter of if unexpected things happen, it's a matter of when. Setbacks are responsible for derailing a lot of good financial goals, but the good news is that they don't have to. So let's talk about how to get back on track towards your financial goals if you experience a setback. First, acknowledge the frustration and the temptation to give up on your goal. Have some grace with yourself. Life happens and a lot of things are out of our control. A setback is not a failure on your part. Yes, you are experiencing a setback that may require you to pause on or delay reaching your goal, but it is something that is temporary. Next, take some time to get through the setback. Take care of what you need to take care of so you can come back to revisit your plan with clarity. If you have an unexpected car repair or medical bill or anything else, by all means, take care of what you need to take care of. Give yourself permission to pause working towards your goals to resolve the setback. Stop your automatic savings transfers or adjust your bill pay amount back to the monthly minimum payment instead of sending extra on your credit card. Do what you need to do to resolve this unexpected financial change. But also, commit specifically to when you'll be able to revisit this and activate your accountability plan to help make sure you do. Is part of your self accountability plan automating a savings transfer? Reschedule that transfer to resume on the date you'll be back to working towards your goal. Does your budget need to be reworked entirely due to a change of income? Get it on the calendar to sit down with your financial partner or accountability buddy and rework the budget based on your first new paycheck hitting. This one step can be key to getting back on track after a setback. So often we do what we need to do to resolve the setback, but we don't hold ourselves accountable to get back to revisiting our goal. We have great intentions, but then life keeps happening and we just never get around to revisiting that goal. Maybe it's in the back of our mind and we keep telling ourselves we'll get back to it, but oftentimes it just keeps passing and eventually your goal feels further away than ever before. This can be especially true for some of those more intangible goals. So even if working towards your goal looks different or may take longer after a setback, committing to a specific date to revisit your plan and following through on doing so can be the game changer that it comes to when you're actually trying to reach your financial goals. So even if that date comes and the setback isn't resolved, pause and acknowledge that and put a new date on the calendar to check in again. Once you're ready to get back on track, revisit your goal. Has what is realistic changed? Do you suddenly have less income to work with or more expenses than you did before? With this in mind, think about what might need to change. Does your timeline need to look different now? What other adjustments may need to be made in order to ensure you're setting yourself back up for success by ensuring you're pursuing a goal that you can realistically reach? Does your goal have an inflexible deadline and do you need to come up with a plan to make up for the lost time and be more aggressive now? With this in mind, make adjustments to your original plan or start from scratch and create a new plan if enough has changed that it would be easier to start fresh. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. You have a lot of support, and that starts first with your financial institution, with Neighborhood Credit Union. They are here for you to talk through what you're going through. Additionally, you have the support of us here at GreenPath Financial Wellness. This is a huge benefit that your credit union offers in being in partnership with us, and they want you to take advantage of our resources, whether that is talking to one of our counselors or using some of our online financial education. We are here for you so that you are not alone in this journey. So, some of the financial education that we have available is on our co branded site with Neighborhood Credit Union. That site is greenpath.com/neighborhood credit union. I've got it up on the next slide. And if you click on the Learning Lab Plus up at the top, you have access to over 16 financial courses as well as recorded webinars that can help you through some of the concepts we talked today. There's a course specifically on behavioral economics. So if you liked this topic and you're interested in learning about some more of those concepts, you can take a look at those as well. And of course, if you are looking to have a financial partner in helping guiding your goal setting discussion or your budget, you are welcome to reach out and talk to one of our non-judgmental financial wellness experts. You can call us here at 877-337-3399, and you can visit that co-branded site at greenpath.com/neighborhood credit union to learn more.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your attention today, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you so much, Lauren. We appreciate all this great information.
My pleasure.